The war had lasted for 300 cycles. Nobody remembered how it started anymore. The old ones who knew the reason were all dead now. Their children were dead too. Only the war remained, burning across 17 star systems like a fire that refused to die. The Veloci Dominion controlled the eastern sectors. They were tall beings with silver scales and large black eyes. They moved slowly and spoke even slower. Their ships were beautiful, curved like seashells, painted in colors that shifted with the light. But beauty meant nothing in war. Their weapons killed just as well as anyone else's. The Krath Collective held the Western Territories. They had 4 arms and skin like dark stone. They did not smile. They did not laugh. They only fought. Their ships were ugly and practical, built for one purpose only. Destruction. Between these two empires, entire worlds had turned to ash. Planets that once held billions of lives were now empty graves floating in space. Children grew up learning to fight before they learned to read. Death was normal. Peace was a word from old stories that nobody believed anymore. The Galactic Council tried to stop the war many times. They brought both sides to the great station at the center of neutral space. They talked and argued and begged. Nothing worked. The hatred ran too deep. Too much blood had been spilled. Neither side could stop now, even if they wanted to. Ambassador Kell of the Veloci stood in the council chamber, his scales dull with exhaustion. He had not slept properly in months. Every night, he dreamed of burning cities and screaming children. He dreamed of his own homeworld, destroyed 15 cycles ago by Krath bombs. Across the room stood General Tira of the Krath. She was old for her kind, her stone-like skin cracked with age. She had 4 arms, and each one bore scars from battles she had survived. Her eyes were cold and empty. She had lost her family in the first century of the war. Now she had nothing left but fighting. The council elder, an ancient being made of living light, spoke in a tired voice. "We ask again, will either side consider peace?" Kel shook his head slowly. "The Krath killed my people. My world is gone. How can there be peace?" Tira's voice was like grinding rocks. "The Veloci started this war. They attacked first. We will not stop until we have justice." "Your justice means our death," Kel said. "Then you understand perfectly," Tira replied. The council elder flickered sadly. This conversation had happened 1,000 times before. The words changed slightly, but the meaning stayed the same. Both sides wanted the other gone. Both sides would fight until nothing remained. In the observation gallery above the chamber, a young Veloci woman named Rova watched the proceedings. She was barely 30 cycles old, still young by her people's standards. Her scales were a pale blue, and her eyes held a sadness that made her look much older than she was. Rova had lost everything in the war. Her parents died when the Krath bombed her colony. Her brother vanished in a battle 2 years ago. His ship was never found. She had come to the council station, hoping to find meaning in her life. Instead, she found only more despair. She watched Ambassador Kell argue with General Tira, and she felt nothing. No anger. No hope. Just emptiness. The war would continue. More people would die. Nothing would change. This was how things were. This was how things would always be. Then the alarms started screaming. Every light in the station turned red. Warning sirens echoed through the halls. The council chamber erupted in chaos as delegates ran to the windows, trying to see what was happening. Rova pressed her face against the glass of the observation gallery. At first, she saw nothing unusual. The stars looked the same as always. The distant shapes of Veloci and Krath warships held their positions, watching each other with weapons ready. Then the sky changed. Ships appeared from nowhere. Not 1 or 2. Not a dozen. Thousands. They came out of some kind of faster-than-light travel that Rova had never seen before. Blue light flashed across space as ship after ship materialized, filling the void with metal and power. The Armada was so large that it briefly blocked out the nearby sun. For a moment, the station fell into shadow. Rova felt her heart stop. She had never seen so many ships in one place. Nobody had. The vessels were strange. They were not curved like Veloci ships or blocky like Krath vessels. They were sleek and sharp, painted in dark gray with white markings. They moved with perfect coordination, thousands of ships acting like a single organism dot in the council chamber below. Ambassador Kell stared at the tactical display with his mouth hanging open. The numbers made no sense. Over 12,000 warships. More firepower than both the Veloci and Krath fleets combined. Where had they come from? Who were they? General Tira's hands moved toward her weapon, an old habit from decades of war. But even she knew it was pointless. Whatever this fleet was, fighting it would be suicide. The council elder's light flickered rapidly with fear. Unknown vessels, identify yourselves immediately. You have entered neutral space. State your intentions. For a long moment, there was only silence. The alien armada held its position, surrounding the station and both fleets like a net closing around fish. Then a voice came through the speakers. It was calm and clear, speaking in a language that the translators struggled with for a moment before catching up. This is Fleet Admiral Han Yuna of the United Earth Navy. We received your distress beacon from 40 years ago. We apologize for the delay. We are here to help. Rova felt her legs weaken. She grabbed the railing to keep from falling. Humans. She had heard of them. Everyone had. A young species from a small planet in a quiet corner of the galaxy. They kept to themselves mostly. They were not part of the council. They had no alliances, no enemies, no presence in galactic politics. And yet here they were. 12,000 warships strong. An armada that dwarfed anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ambassador Kell found his voice first. Humans? The humans are here? General Tira said nothing. She simply stared at the tactical display, counting the ships over and over, as if hoping the numbers would change. They did not change. In the observation gallery, Rova watched the human armada with tears forming in her eyes. She did not know if they were tears of fear or hope. Perhaps both. After 300 cycles of war, something new had finally arrived. The galaxy would never be the same again. 40 years ago, the Veloci were losing the war badly. The Krath had pushed deep into their territory, burning colony after colony. Millions died every month. The Veloci leaders were desperate. They tried everything. New weapons, new tactics, new alliances. Nothing worked out in their desperation. They sent a message into the void. A distress beacon aimed at every corner of the galaxy. It was a cry for help, begging any neutral species to intervene before the Veloci were wiped out completely. Most species ignored the message. Some did not even receive it. Others received it, but did not care. Galactic politics were complicated. Getting involved in someone else's war meant making enemies. Nobody wanted that. But one species received the message and decided to answer. The humans of Earth were young. Their civilization had only discovered faster-than-light travel a century before. They had explored a small area around their home system, meeting a few alien races, trading with some, avoiding conflict with others. They were not powerful. They were not feared. Most species barely knew they existed. When the Veloci distress beacon reached Earth, the human government debated for years. Should they get involved? The war was far away. The Veloci were strangers. What business was it of theirs? But in the end, a simple truth won the argument. Someone had asked for help. The humans could not ignore the dot they spent 40 years preparing. They built ships, thousands of them. They developed new weapons and new technologies. They trained soldiers and officers. They planned every detail of what they would do when they arrived. And now they were here. Fleet Admiral Han Yuna stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UN Resolve. She was 52 years old, with short gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had joined the Navy when she was 18. She had spent her entire life preparing for this moment. Beside her stood Captain Park Jun, her tactical officer. He was younger than her, in his early 40s, with a calm face and steady hands. He had run the simulations 1,000 times. He knew exactly what they were facing. "Admiral," Jun said quietly, "both alien fleets are holding position." They seemed confused. Yuna nodded. "Good. Confused enemies make fewer stupid decisions." She looked at the tactical display. The Veloci fleet was on one side, about 4,000 warships. The Krath fleet was on the other side, roughly the same size. Both fleets were watching the human armada with a mixture of fear and uncertainty. Behind Yuna, her bridge crew worked silently. They were the best officers in the Navy. Every one of them had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might not return. 40 light years was a long way from home. The council station sat in the middle of everything, a small dot surrounded by giants. Yuna felt a moment of sympathy for the beings inside. They had been stuck between two warring empires for centuries. They must be terrified right now. A communication request came through. Yuna accepted it. Ambassador Kel's face appeared on the screen. His silver scales were pale with shock. His large black eyes blinked rapidly. "Fleet Admiral Han Yuna," he said, struggling to keep his voice steady. "I am Ambassador Kel of the Veloci Dominion. We sent that beacon 40 years ago. We never expected anyone to answer." Yuna smiled slightly. "We received your message. We apologize for the delay. Building this fleet took time. You built all of this for us?" Kel's voice cracked with disbelief. "We built it to help end your war," Yuna said simply. "That was what you asked for, was it not?" Before Kel could respond, another face appeared on the screen. General Tira of the Krath glared at the human admiral with undisguised suspicion. "Who are you really?" she demanded. "No species travels 40 light years to help strangers. What do you want? Territory? Resources? Power?" Yuna's smile faded. She looked at the Krath general with calm, serious eyes. "We want nothing from you, General. We are here because someone asked for help. That is enough reason for us." Tira laughed bitterly. "You expect me to believe that? In 300 cycles of war, I have learned one truth. Everyone wants something. Everyone has a price." "Then perhaps," Yuna said softly, "you have not met humans before." The communication ended. Tira's face disappeared from the screen. Captain Jun raised an eyebrow. "She does not trust us. Would you trust us?" Yuna replied, "If 12,000 warships appeared in your space, would you believe they came just to help?" Jun considered this. "No, I suppose not. Trust will come later," Yuna said. "First, we need to show them what we can do." She turned to her communications officer. "Open a channel to all ships in the area. All of them. Veloci, Krath, everyone." The officer nodded. "Channel open, Admiral." Yuna took a deep breath. Her voice was calm and clear as she spoke. "Attention all vessels. This is Fleet Admiral Han Yuna of the United Earth Navy. We have traveled 40 light years to reach this system. We have brought 12,000 warships. We are not here to conquer. We are not here to destroy. We are here to end this war." She paused, letting her words sink in. "In 6 hours, we will begin operations. Any ship that fires a weapon will be disabled. Any ship that attempts to flee will be stopped. Any ship that surrenders peacefully will be treated with respect. We do not wish to kill anyone, but we will do what is necessary to bring peace to this region. Another pause. You have 6 hours to decide how this will go. Choose wisely. The channel closed. Silence filled the bridge of the Resolve. Captain June looked at his display. Admiral, the alien fleets are going crazy. Communications traffic has increased by 800%. They are panicking. Good, Una said. Let them panic. Let them talk to each other. Let them realize that they cannot win against us. Panic now means less fighting later. She sat down in her command chair and closed her eyes for a moment. 40 years of preparation. 40 years of building, training, planning. It all came down to the next few hours. On the council station, Rova watched the human fleet through the observation window. She had heard the Admiral's message. Everyone had. The humans were going to end the war. They were going to force peace on two empires that had been killing each other for 3 centuries. It sounded impossible. But looking at those 12,000 ships, Rova began to believe it might actually happen. For the first time in her life, she dared to hope. The 6 hours passed slowly. On the council station, everyone watched and waited. The alien fleets argued among themselves, trying to decide what to do. Some wanted to attack the humans. Others wanted to surrender. Most simply did not know what to think. When the deadline arrived, nothing had changed. Both the Veloci and Krath fleets remained in position. Their weapons were still active. Neither side had backed down. Fleet Admiral Han Yuna stood on the bridge of the Resolve, watching the tactical display. She felt no anger, no excitement, only a calm determination. The aliens had made their choice. Now the humans would make theirs. All ships, she said quietly, begin operations. The human Armada moved. Vice Admiral Choi Nari commanded the Eastern Group. She was a small woman with fierce eyes and a reputation for brilliance. Her destroyer squadrons shot forward like arrows, cutting through space at speeds the aliens had never seen before. The Veloci fleet tried to respond. Their beautiful curved ships turned to face the incoming humans. They fired their weapons, sending beams of light toward the enemy. But the human ships were not there anymore. They had already moved. The Veloci weapons hit empty space. Nari smiled coldly. Too slow, she whispered. Her destroyers reached the Veloci fleet in seconds. They did not fire to kill. They fired precise shots at specific points on each alien ship. Engine cores, weapon systems, power generators. 1 shot, 2 shots, 3 shots, each one perfectly placed. The Veloci ships went dark one by one. Their weapons stopped working. Their engines shut down. They became floating boxes of metal, helpless and harmless. On the western side, Commodore Beak Su led the heavy cruisers against the Krath fleet. Su was a large man with a gentle face that hid a warrior's mind. His ships moved in a formation that the aliens had never seen before. They formed a rotating sphere, firing in all directions at once. The Krath were tougher than the Veloci. Their ships were built for war and nothing else. They fought back hard, their ugly vessels spitting fire and death at the human cruisers. But it did not matter. The human ships were connected. Every vessel in the Armada shared information instantly through a network that worked faster than thought. When one ship saw something, every ship saw it. When one captain made a decision, the entire fleet knew it immediately. The aliens took minutes to send orders from their commanders to their ships. The humans acted in milliseconds. It was not a fair fight. It was not even close. General Tira watched from her flagship as her fleet fell apart around her. Ship after ship went dark. Her communications were flooded with desperate calls for help. Her weapons fired at targets that were no longer there. Her engines could not keep up with the human speed. "This is impossible," she said, her stone-like face cracking with shock. "This cannot be happening." Her second officer, a young Krath named Mole, looked at her with fear in his eyes. "General, we need to retreat. We cannot win this." "Retreat to where?" Tira demanded. "They are everywhere." She was right. The human armada had surrounded both fleets completely. There was no escape. There was no hiding. There was only surrender or destruction. But the humans were not destroying anyone. That was the strangest part. Their weapons were precise, surgical. They hit exactly what they aimed for and nothing else. No Krath soldiers died. No Veloci crew members were killed. The humans were defeating entire fleets without taking a single life. 7 hours after the battle began, it was over. 4,200 Krath warships floated dead in space. 3,800 Veloci vessels had suffered the same fate. 8,000 ships disabled in 7 hours. And the humans had lost exactly 0. Fleet Admiral Han Yuna looked at the tactical display with quiet satisfaction. Not a single enemy ship had been destroyed. Not a single alien life had been lost. This was what 40 years of preparation looked like. She opened a channel to all ships in the area. Her voice was calm and measured as she spoke. "Attention all vessels. Your weapons are offline. Your engines are locked. You will stand down immediately. Medical ships are being dispatched to assist anyone who needs help. If you cooperate, you will be treated fairly. If you resist, we will be less gentle." The channel closed. Silence fell over the battlefield. On the council station, Ambassador Kell collapsed into a chair. His scales had turned almost white with shock. He had just watched the two greatest military powers in the galaxy get defeated in less than a day. And the humans had done it without killing anyone. How? He whispered to nobody. How is this possible? Rova stood nearby, her eyes fixed on the observation window. The human ships moved smoothly through the disabled fleets, checking on each vessel, sending medical teams where needed. They were efficient and organized, like they had done this 1,000 times before. Perhaps they had, Rova thought. Perhaps this was normal for humans. On the Krath flagship, General Tira sat in her command chair, surrounded by darkness. Her ship had no power. Her weapons were dead. Her fleet was broken. For the first time in her long life, she felt something she had not felt in decades. Fear. Not fear of death. She had made peace with death long ago. This was a different kind of fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of a species that could defeat her without even trying. The humans had not just won the battle. They had shown that the Krath way of war was obsolete. Everything Tira had believed about strength and power was wrong. These strange beings from a small blue planet had proven that. She looked at her dark console and saw her reflection in the dead screen. An old warrior who had spent her whole life fighting. And now the fighting was over. Not because she had won. Not because she had lost. Because someone else had decided it was time to stop. What now? Mole asked quietly. Tira did not answer. She did not know. For 300 cycles, she had known exactly what to do. Fight. Kill. Survive. But now there was nothing to fight. The humans had taken that away from her. She closed her eyes and waited for whatever came next. The human shuttle landed in the council station's main docking bay. The aliens who had gathered to watch held their breath. After what had just happened, nobody knew what to expect. Would the humans come with weapons? Would they come with demands? Would they come to conquer? The shuttle door opened. 6 humans walked out. They wore simple gray uniforms with no armor. They carried no weapons. They moved with calm confidence, like they were walking into a friend's home instead of a station full of scared aliens. Leading them was Commander O. Tay. He was 35 years old. with kind eyes and a warm smile. He was not a warrior. He was a diplomat. His job was not to fight, but to talk. The aliens stared at him with a mixture of fear and confusion. This was the species that had just defeated 2 galactic empires in 7 hours. This soft-looking man with the gentle smile. Tay stopped in front of the gathered delegates. He looked around at all the different species, the different faces, the different expressions. Then he did something that surprised everyone. He bowed. A deep, respectful bow. "Thank you for receiving us," he said in a clear, pleasant voice. "I am Commander Otay of the United Earth Navy. I am here to discuss peace." Ambassador Kell stepped forward. His scales had regained some of their color, but his hands were still shaking. "Commander, we do not understand what is happening. Your fleet appeared from nowhere. You defeated both our enemies and our own forces. And now you come here with no weapons, no guards. Why?" Tay straightened up from his bow. His smile remained in place. "Ambassador, we are not here to threaten you. We are not here to rule you. We are here because 40 years ago, your people sent a message asking for help. We received that message. We built a fleet. We came. But why?" Cal asked. "We are strangers to you. We have nothing to offer you. There is no reason for you to care about us." Tay was quiet for a moment. He seemed to be thinking carefully about how to answer. "On our world," he said finally, "we have a saying. When someone asks for help, you help them. That is what good people do. We could not ignore your message. We could not pretend we did not hear it. So we came." General Tira pushed through the crowd. She had been brought from her disabled flagship by a human medical shuttle. Her stone-like skin was cracked with age and stress. Her forearms hung limply at her sides. For the first time in anyone's memory, she looked tired. "Pretty words," she said harshly. "But words are cheap. What do you really want from us? Territory? Slaves? Resources? Tell us the truth." Tay turned to face her. His smile faded, replaced by a serious expression. "General Tira," he said calmly, "I understand why you do not trust us. You have spent your entire life fighting. You have seen the worst of what people can do to each other. You believe that everyone wants something, that everyone has a hidden purpose." He took a step closer to her. The Krath general was taller than him, stronger than him. But she did not move. "But I am telling you the truth," Tay continued. "We want nothing from you. We want nothing from the Veloci. We want nothing from anyone here. We came because someone needed help. That is all." Tira stared at him for a long moment. Her eyes searched his face, looking for lies, looking for tricks. She found nothing but honest sincerity. "I do not understand you," she said quietly. "I know," Tay replied. "But perhaps, in time, you will." He reached into his uniform and pulled out a small device. He placed it on a nearby table. A holographic document appeared above it, filled with text in multiple languages. "This is a ceasefire agreement," Tay explained. "It is simple. Both the Veloci Dominion and the Krath Collective will stop fighting immediately. All prisoners will be exchanged. A neutral zone will be established between your territories. Peace talks will begin within 1 cycle." Ambassador Kell read through the document carefully. His eyes widened. This is very fair. There are no demands, no punishments, no territorial changes. "We are not here to punish anyone," Tay said. "We are here to stop the killing. Nothing more. And if we refuse?" Tira asked. "What happens if we do not sign?" Tay's expression remained calm. "Then we will stay. Our fleet will remain in this region. Every time one of your ships fires a weapon, we will disable it. Every time one of your soldiers attacks, We will stop them. We can do this for as long as necessary. We brought supplies for 10 years. The room went cold. Everyone understood what Tay was saying. The humans were not making a threat. They were stating a fact. They could enforce peace whether the aliens wanted it or not. Rova watched from the edge of the room. She saw Tay's calm face, his gentle smile. She saw the way he stood without fear in front of beings who had been killing each other for 3 centuries. He was not afraid because he had no reason to be afraid. The humans had already won. They were simply waiting for everyone else to accept it. She looked at Ambassador Kell. The old diplomat's hands had stopped shaking. He was looking at the ceasefire agreement with something that might have been hope. She looked at General Tira. The Krath warrior's face was unreadable. But she was not arguing anymore. She was not threatening. She was just standing there, thinking. The silence stretched on for a long moment. Then Ambassador Kell reached out and pressed his hand to the document. His signature appeared in glowing letters. "The Veloci Dominion agrees," he said softly. All eyes turned to General Tira. She stood motionless, her forearms crossed. Her face was like carved stone. No one could tell what she was thinking. Then, slowly, she reached out one of her hands. She pressed it to the document. "The Krath Collective agrees," she said. The words seemed to cost her something. Like she was giving up a part of herself. Commander Otay smiled. It was not a smile of victory. It was a smile of relief. "Thank you," he said. "Both of you. I know this was not easy, but you have made the right choice. Today, the war ends. Today, a new future begins." He looked around at all the delegates, all the different species watching with amazement. "We will leave you now," he said. "Our fleet will depart within a cycle. You will be responsible for your own peace from this point forward. We hope you will choose wisely." He bowed again, and the 6 humans walked back to their shuttle. They left behind a signed treaty, 2 stunned empires, and a galaxy that would never forget what had happened here today. The next morning came according to the station's artificial day cycle. The lights brightened slowly, simulating a sunrise that no one on the station had ever seen naturally. It was supposed to feel hopeful. A new day. A fresh start. For the first time in 300 cycles, that hope felt real. Rova woke early. She had barely slept. Her mind kept replaying the events of the previous day. The human armada appearing from nowhere. The battle that lasted only 7 hours. The peace treaty signed by enemies who had been killing each other for centuries. It all felt like a dream. She walked to the observation deck and stopped. In her tracks, the human fleet was moving, not toward the station, not toward the disabled alien ships. They were moving away. Thousands of vessels turning in perfect unison, forming long lines that pointed toward the distant stars. They were leaving. Rova ran. She did not know why. Her legs moved on their own, carrying her through the corridors of the station toward the communication center. She had to understand. She had to know why. Ambassador Kell was already there when she arrived. The old diplomat stood in front of a massive screen, trying desperately to establish contact with the human flagship. His scales were flushed with emotion. His hands shook as he worked the controls. "Please," he was saying into the communicator, "please respond. You cannot leave yet. We have so many questions. We need to establish proper relations. We need to discuss trade, treaties, cultural exchange." The screen flickered, and Fleet Admiral Han Yuna's face appeared. She looked tired but peaceful. Behind her, Rova could see the bridge of the human flagship, officers moving calmly at their stations. "Ambassador Kell," Yuna said with a small smile. "I was wondering when you would call." "Fleet Admiral, please," Kell said, his voice cracking. "You cannot simply leave. You appeared in our space with the greatest armada ever assembled. You ended a war that lasted 3 centuries. You changed everything. And now you just go? Without explanation? Without establishing diplomatic ties? Yuna was silent for a moment. She seemed to be choosing her words carefully. Ambassador, we came because you needed help. The war is over. What you do with peace is up to you, not us. But we do not understand you, Kel insisted. Your technology, your tactics, your culture. How did you become this? How did a species we barely knew anything about build a fleet that could defeat 2 galactic empires without losing a single ship? Yuna's smile turned slightly sad. We have had many wars of our own, Ambassador. Too many. We got very good at fighting. And eventually, we got very good at ending fights. We learned that the goal is not to destroy your enemy. The goal is to make fighting pointless. But your weapons, your ships, they are beyond anything we have ever seen. We had 40 years to prepare, Yuna said simply. 40 years of knowing that someday we would have to face fleets like yours. We used that time well. Kel fell silent. He did not know what else to say. Every question he asked just led to more questions. Rova stepped forward. She did not know what gave her the courage. She was nobody, a young aide with no authority, no importance. But the words came out of her mouth anyway. Will you come back? She asked. Yuna's eyes shifted to the young Veloci woman. Her expression softened. What is your name? She asked. Rova. Rova? Yuna repeated. You look very young. Have you lost people in this war? Rova felt her throat tighten. My parents. My brother. My homeworld. Everything. Yuna nodded slowly. There was understanding in her eyes. Perhaps she had lost people too. Perhaps all humans had. Rova, I want you to listen carefully, Yuna said. We are leaving now because our work here is done. We stopped the war. We gave you peace. But peace is not something we can give you forever. It is something you must build yourselves. She leaned forward slightly, her eyes holding Rova's gaze. There will be hard times ahead. The Veloci and the Krath have hated each other for 300 cycles. That hatred will not disappear overnight. There will be anger, suspicion, old wounds that refuse to heal. You will need to work through all of that on your own. But what if we fail? Rova asked. What if the war starts again? Yuna smiled gently. Then call us. Send another message into the void. We will hear it. We will come. You would do that? Rova's voice was barely a whisper. You would come back for strangers again? We came once, Yuna said. We will come again. That is what humans do. The connection fell silent for a moment. In the background, Captain Park Jun reported that the fleet was in formation. Ready to depart. Ambassador Kel found his voice one last time. Fleet Admiral, before you go, I must ask, why? Why did you really come all this way? Please, tell me the truth. Yuna was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft and sincere. Because hope should never be ignored, Ambassador. 40 years ago, your people sent a message into the darkness, hoping someone would answer. That hope deserved a response. Every cry for help deserves a response. That is what we believe. She straightened in her chair and gave a small nod. Goodbye, Ambassador Kel. Goodbye, Rova. Take care of each other. Build something worth protecting. And remember that you are not alone in this universe. Somewhere out there, humanity is watching. And if you ever need us again, we will come. The screen went dark. Through the observation windows, Rova watched the human armada begin to move. 12,000 ships accelerated in perfect unison, their engines glowing bright blue against the darkness of space. They moved faster and faster, until they were just streaks of light racing toward the distant stars. Then, one by one, they vanished. The blue light flashed, and the ships were gone. back to wherever they had come from. Back to the small blue planet called Earth. Rova stood at the window for a long time after they left. The space where the Armada had been was empty now. Just stars and darkness, and the slowly recovering alien fleets. Ambassador Kel came to stand beside her. His scales had returned to their normal silver color. He looked older than before, but also somehow lighter. Like a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. "What do we do now?" Rova asked quietly. Kel was silent for a moment. Then he put a gentle hand on her shoulder. "We build," he said. "We talk to the Krath. We heal old wounds. We make something better than what we had before. We prove that the humans' faith in us was not misplaced." Rova nodded slowly. It sounded impossible. 300 cycles of hatred would not disappear easily. But then again, she had thought peace was impossible too. And yet here they were. She looked out at the stars one more time. Somewhere out there, beyond the void, the humans were going home. They had come when called. They had done what they promised. And they had left before anyone could truly understand them. But they had left something behind. Something more valuable than technology or weapons or treaties. They had left hope. Rova touched the cold glass of the observation window and made a silent promise. To herself, to her lost family, to the humans who had saved her people without asking for anything in return, she would make this peace work. She would spend her life building bridges between enemies. She would prove that the humans had been right to believe in them. And maybe, someday, she would travel to that small blue planet called Earth. She would find those strange, impossible people who had saved her galaxy. And she would thank them properly. But that was a dream for another day. For now, there was work to do. The war was over. The future was beginning. And somewhere among the distant stars, humanity watched and waited, ready to answer the next call for help whenever it came.